strange.
Yeah. Huh. I just put it there.
You're awesome. Thank you so much. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this Finance Committee meeting. We will get going. Do we have any public comment on the agenda or non-agenda items? Seeing none, we will move forward to our agenda items this evening. First, on our action items, we have our purchasing agenda. Ms. Cribbs, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, and it's all, oops, no, it goes too far if I do that. So we'll start down through it. Our first item is our dance and learning instruction for Coit Creative Arts Academy. We have worked with PT Arts for many years, and they provide dance instruction 40 minutes per week for each class at Coit. The next item down is for the Salvation Army Croc Center, and they provide supervision and curriculum services and the use of the facilities for our Grand Rapids University Prep Academy. Some of the classes that they're offering are general art, phys ed, drama, music, and a nutrition class in their kitchen.
Before, can I ask you a question about one?
Sure.
The PT Arts, is this we've worked with them in the past?
Mm-hmm.
Is this okay?
Yep,
So,
we've worked with them for many years. I don't know if Mr. Beresford. I have my colleagues here to help support with specific questions that are more familiar.
Yes, so this vendor's had a relationship with teaching dance and the foundational skills of dance during an elective, just like art or music at Coit because of the performing arts. So this is his contracted amount, which is the same as the prior school year, so he has not raised anything. But he is participating in before school meetings to make sure that his curriculum is connected with the units of inquiry and the other electives when they're working towards certain themes. So,
and have we ever done feedback or received, like, the students are happy with it, the teachers are happy with it, the principal is good with it?
the leadership of the school is definitely supportive. The staff are supportive. I've never taken any complaints, but that's a good idea as they're lighting off and creating a scholar advisory.
Yeah.
I'll ask them specifically about that dance piece.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, so under the general fund support materials, our first item there is our consulting with Gallagher Benefit Services. They provide assistance with all of our employee benefit programs. So, for example, if we were looking at offering a different kind of insurance, and one of the things we've been looking at recently is our life and LTD insurances. So they will help us assist in getting bids, analyzing those bids, what they look like. They've also brought forward in the last few months an enhanced employee assistance program that we're looking at as well. So they're just very knowledgeable in the benefit arena and can help us facilitate what that looks like and making sure that what we're offering is the best that we can for our employees. The next one down is we're looking at replacing our marching band uniforms, and if we can have just a minute for show and tell. I do know that Mr. Van Til has brought a mock-up of what the new uniforms will look like.
I asked Eric to model this piece.
Yeah, can't win them all.
He got the wrong side.
Oh, that's great.
Excuse me. This is an example of the Ottawa Hills Band marching uniform. They are high school agnostic at their base, and so you can see here's a unique Ottawa Hills patch, and then a unique plume. All the secondary band programs would have their own colored plume and their own customized patch. Band majors would have white gauntlets and a white plume. So that's the plan. But we're really excited. Currently, our high schools are using hand-me-down uniforms that are 15 years old from Rockford High School. And I think our Stars deserve
That's right.
their own look.
Will each school have their own colors?
Yep, they will
Beyond,
have
like,
their own
no, on the uniform?
No, the uniform will be the same, but we'll have distinctive colors in the patch and in the plumes, so they'll be distinguished that way.
And is that glass, or what is that reflective on the?
It appears to be glass,
Okay.
but yeah, it is a mirror, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
And on this side, there can be a patch that says GRPS.
Yep.
Got it. I love
So-
that.
Mm-hmm.
As a fellow marching band person that used to be in competitive in multiple different bands, actually, and was in a jazz band at Ottawa. That's exciting. So they deserve. So thank you.
It's one of those interchangeable then too, like if one building needs more of a certain size, we can just shift them throughout the district, so.
I have tasked our band teachers to determine a central location where uniforms can be sized for scholars and they can be handed out. And we also have teachers developing kind of a digital backbone for inventory for the uniforms as well.
Coats, because I know sometimes football season go further, and we used to have marching band coats
We
for
do
those
have-
colder days. Is this also included?
It is not, we already own really nice marching band coats. that we
Okay.
purchased about 5 years ago. I mean, the lifespan of these, I mean, the 15-year-old, we're in our 20th year, essentially, with the current marching band uniform, so these are really good value. They are built to last.
Awesome.
Did we get scholar feedback at all on those? Did they see these?
We did send out like a survey to the band teachers to show kids, and there were options given, and this is the one we got the most positive feedback from.
So thank you for engaging with them, that they had a part of the process of selecting. That's good to hear. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Our next item down is, as you've had forward presentations, our close-up trip. So we're getting some planning going. The first item is for our middle school students. And this includes for 315 scholars and 50 adult chaperones to go. And there's about 10 to 30 per of the buildings listed, depending on the size of the building. And the next item down there is for the high school group. And that, we've got about 200 scholars and 20 adults. Again, it's about 10 to 30 scholars per building that will be participating.
And what is the Close-Up Foundation?
I will say, I'll ask my colleague, Dr. Nelson, to
ready.
come forward and provide more details.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
So this is the third year that we've used ESSER funds for this wonderful trip to Washington, D.C. A little bit of government, a little bit of politics, a little bit of history, but a wonderful experiential trip for, let's see, the first year we had 276 scholars. Second year, 383. And this year, anticipated 515.
Wow.
And so it's, I get to watch, I get to observe when they leave from the airport at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, the tired faces. But when they come back, they've had an experience that is just awesome. So it's a good trip.
This is the one you said your son went to?
My daughter.
Daughter,
Yeah,
excuse me.
yeah,
I
she was a
remember
junior
this.
last year and had such a powerful experience. What I so appreciated about, what I didn't know about Close Up was how they bring scholars, students from across the country together. And so her group was not just City High students. She was with students from Arizona and Texas.
That's right.
And they were having really important dialogue about really sometimes controversial issues, right?
You bet.
In their group. She stayed in touch with them. She was only sad that they got to go on to New York City and our scholars did not.
Yeah,
But
very cool. Yeah,
This is
still, really powerful.
yeah.
This is the spring that this
Yeah.
happens?
It is spring, yep.
So I remember, so I recall now that that you talked about your
Brooklyn, my
child, and I
daughter.
didn't know that it was your daughter, so
Yeah.
I apologize.
No problem.
Did that, but I do remember Trustee Rodriguez is asking about sustainability and what is going to be put in place that with the ESSER funds are going away, how will we maintain this our scholars being able to have this opportunity?
That's a great question. Prior to this, it was each school on their own fundraising. Scholars would either pitch in or go out and fundraise for their own, or schools would do a fundraising activity. What we want to do after this particular session is to put together a nice hype video and send that out and see what kind of response we get. But it's incredible, the videos, the pictures that we've received over the course of time, putting those together, organizing those just nice creatively, probably should get a little attention.
We work with our foundation with this as well, or no?
We have not.
Okay.
Nope. And so, I
Opportunity
anticipate
perhaps.
doing all of
Yeah.
those things, you bet, yeah.
Great. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And our next item there is number 3, where for Innovation Central, we had Dr. McGee in August come and present on it, and we pulled it before the board actually voted on the full thing to do some additional vetting to make sure it was in alignment with our strategic plan. All of that, we've done that additional vetting, and we're ready to move it forward again to the full, to you first, and then to the full board for approval.
I did have a question on that, just because, well, I guess I just want to make clear what were the additional steps that needed to be taken to take it away and then bring it back with, full support from your staff.
Okay, so I asked Mr. Beresford to come forward and help with that again.
And that's right, because I remember we were talking as far as like the background of that and was scholar input and other questions that came up.
Can you unplug from that a second, and then I'll bring the PowerPoint up? Just with the Vivi.
Is it up on this one?
No. So I'll start with the additional vetting, and then Dr. McGee will walk you through the program detail a little bit closer to the alignment to our strategic plan and scholar outcomes, and then we'll answer any questions. So the additional vetting that we did was that our HR legal team has cleared any allegations of conflict of interest. Also, this is a continuation, this funding source from the Health Sciences Academy is a continuation of funding resources from Corewell, one of the partners to the Academy, on this strategy that was used before the pandemic. And so this is the second time that they'd like to activate this strategy. Now Dr. McGee can walk us through the Playbook program.
Just like before, so the Playbook program is a program that is a program that supports our curriculum on the outside for families, students, or scholars in our community. Its focus is leadership and literacy, and they're in-person workshops, live stream workshops that engages everybody into the learning process at our school. Again, we talked about Dr. Eric Thomas being one of the leads on this. He's the #1 motivational speaker in the world. And then there's a team of individuals who are reading specialists, educators, people from the community that will come and speak and support. We do whole school workshops, and family workshops. And there's going to be an intense focus with 50 students and families throughout the duration of the year. Here's the important part. There's an alignment to our strategic plan with the program. And, at Innovation, we chose 2 of the 6 to really focus on, and it's meeting holistic scholar needs and enhancing curriculum and program opportunities. And this program does both because it's important for us. We want scholars to focus on engagement, not only in the classroom, but inside of the school. At Innovation, we've had a real hard time having scholars feel like school is school again. I did Saturday school this past weekend, and I had about 4 students with me, and they're still struggling with it. Dr. McGee, yeah, I know we had a homecoming dance, but what about this? What about that? What about all these field trips? I'm like, you know how many field trips we've been on this year? And it's still not enough. So there's still that gap, right? So how do we get them to be engaged in what school really is? How do we get our families to support? Yes, Innovation Central has a long history of with Mr. Frost and having families coming into the schools. So with construction and still coming back from COVID, how do we get families back into our buildings and supporting their child not post-COVID? So what do we do? How do we do that? So the program really aligns with meeting those holistic needs and also supporting what we're doing in our curriculum and our programs at Innovation Central. There's a lot going on there with 5 academies. There are so many programs. And if you look at literacy and leadership, these 2 things really undergird everything that we can do in our schools. So that's how that alignment looks. And then just real quickly, aligning the priority scholar outcomes. The program is able to touch a little bit more than 80% of what we're asking for our scholar outcomes. There's not a specific focus on math, but every one of the other ones are being touched with the program. So it helps us tremendously. Some of the indicators here on the right, we can use to kind of look at engagement or gauge how we're moving forward. These things are already in place. We're looking at these consistently. Right now, the Panorama survey is out, the window's open, and we're going through that. And when we go through it again, we'll be able to see what that impact looks like from now, then, and then later in the spring. And then just to review, this who gets to participate. We'll have the whole school that's a part of the program when they do whole school events. But then there's an intensive 50 that get to participate on a more consistent basis and a more focused base. So what we've done, we took our academies, kind of broke them down percentage-wise on who gets to participate. And if we do not get to fill those seats with all of our academies, we'll ask other academies, are there other scholars that are eligible or that want to be a part of the program? So that's kind of what it looks like right now based on our numbers, our current numbers, and that'll give us our 50. And then we'll have family workshops and then professional learning with our staff.
Any additional questions?
Yes, I have a couple questions. A couple would be, I remember the last time you presented this. We weren't aware that this was the second go around in regards to this being there. And so, with that being in mind, this is a twofold. One, did we collect data from those scholars that participated last time or the first round 1 to see the impact or the buy-in from not only the scholars but also the families that were initiated with it? And then also the second part of that question would be around how I saw that there was a slide that talked about reducing Black student disciplinary. I'm paraphrasing because yes, exclusionary discipline. How has it done that? If we've seen that in the first round, like what have we seen? Where was our starting point, and what are those numbers that show that it was reduced, or did that actually happen? Like what's the data around that?
Gotcha. So the first time we did this, it wasn't necessarily the playbook program. Dr. Eric Thomas came in 2013, came to Innovation Central. I think he came in right before SATs and did just a motivation, hey, let's get ready for SATs and count day. It was around that time. So it was one of those types of programs. Corewell Health was so impressed by his team that they asked for him again. And so now this time it's the playbook program as opposed to him just coming in and speaking. Now here's a whole program that says, let's put together some initiatives and skill building, collect some data so we can move forward and move the needle in your building. When you see reduced Black scholar exclusionary discipline, those types of things, that's based on the program that's been implemented over the last year or two with different schools. So that's where that information comes from. And that's spelled out as well on the website and some documentation that I have as well.
I remember we asked about that from the last time that, like with the other schools that have implemented this, like how have those results or what were the results? And I remember we didn't have that data at that time, so I would love to be able to see that too.
Oh, yeah, I have it too. It's not in this slide though, on the slide deck, but I do have it.
But they do, if they partner with a district or school, then, we set up a letter of agreement and then also a data sharing agreement so that it is measurable this time, right? Because before it was just motivational, and now it's this full playbook with a scholar planner that they're using to track their assignments and their goals and having conversations with their parents. So then we would set up in that DSA how we would measure it. You know what I mean? But what I hear what you're asking is with other organizations they've worked with,
Yes,
what are those metrics?
Because we asked that last time, how if this was already done with other previous districts, and it seems like we had time to gather that. I'm wondering what was that feedback or that data gathering that we got from the other districts that I would believe you talked about it within California, if I'm not mistaken, that we're able to talk about what were the results of that and the impact of that being in that particular school or school district.
Yeah, like I said, I have that data printed out if you would like to see that.
And then my last question is the fact that we had him as a motivational speaker in, I forgot the year that you mentioned, so I apologize. 2013. Do we know, did we survey the students with that and were they receptive? I know it's one thing for Coral Health to be like, great,
Sure.
and that's we love to hear what he said, but how did the students react to that we're implementing something for the students?
And the challenge is, that neither Dr. McGee or myself were in the leadership connection to that school at that time. And yeah, I guess it would be Spectrum back then, right? I'm not sure if they measured it, if Mr. Frost measured it then or not.
No, did we measure is what I'm asking, not Mr. Frost as a district. Did leadership measure that with him coming in?
Of the engagement impact from the motivational assembly, I don't believe so.
Okay.
So, sorry, if Mr. Eatman, go ahead. Okay. All right. So one thing that I do see as as a barrier for me to support this is, I mean, obviously we're here for results, right? We're here for scholar success. And so I also would like to, and I do remember this being a topic from the last time, is like, I want to see, hey, these are our intended outcomes with a SMART goal in mind, because, well, I see in this first page from Corewell Health, disciplinary referrals, 79% of playbook students experience significant decrease in disciplinary referrals. So is that, that tells me part of the story is like, okay, were those students, what was the decrease in disciplinary referrals? What were some of the things that the playbook program directly impacted these students on to get these referrals down? And so in that slide where you said 80% targets 80% of our alignment with priority scholar outcomes, I would like to see some, maybe some more specific goals in mind. Just because I do kind of agree with Mr. Eatman is thinking about, okay, why this specific motivational speaker, and I know you mentioned that there's going to be some educational kind of components to this from communities, right? So that's from Grand Rapids, or does the playbook program kind of come with its own professionals as well? Is something that I would like to understand a little bit more.
So yes, the playbook program does come with their own professionals.
Okay.
They're based out of Lansing, Michigan.
Okay.
So access is prime. I do know that there are other schools that they work with as well, but we are the closest one for this year. And as far as that data piece that you're speaking of, It's peppered throughout in those documents there.
Okay, yeah.
But if you vote to proceed, then we can certainly, before we proceed any further, build SMARTY goals, right? Like metrics, and share those with you.
And am I remembering it correctly, but Corewell Health is funding this, so this is not a GRPS funded, right? And they asked you for some,
Correct.
yes. So you're already going to be reporting back to Corewell Health on, right, they really are the grantor in this case, and really what we're doing here in finance is approving the funding of the program through Corewell Health. So I do appreciate, and of course, we do not want to fund anything that isn't going to result in the best possible scholar outcomes, but it isn't really the job of this committee to vet this program at this depth when we already have a funder who's come in and said that they would like to support it, that they've done the vetting, and they're asking for us and the district who's already vetted it to move it forward. So I just want to be cautious that we're not drifting too much into especially redundant work that the grantor has already asked.
Can you repeat the last
yeah.
point that you said?
So Corewell Health has asked, based on their willingness to fund this work through their grant, that there are metrics and measurements that they're going to require reported back to them, right, on the success of this program? Yes. So are we asking for the same thing that Corewell Health is asking for, I guess is my question. Sounds like we are.
Yeah, yes, that they want it to be measured too. That slide that talked about the metrics in the top right corner with the different panorama surveys and the academic high stakes tests, that would be part of the data sharing agreement, of course anonymous or in a research base, but that we can also build that into a SMARTY goal for our GRPS preference too.
Okay, understood.
So I guess my response to that, Trustee Shockey, would be like, so I look at this as twofold, right? So it's a partnership with Corewell Health, and Corewell Health needs us to be able to approve this, to have access to our scholars for this to be in that. And so if as the stewards of our scholars and making sure the program is there, I do believe it is part of our responsibility to make sure that our end of the bargain, and that what we need to do to say that, to catch that data, if it's not smart, and I do think that is something that we should be also bringing to the table along with Corewell Health, and not just agreeing to, just because they're partnering with us in that regards. And I do think we have a responsibility also with our scholars to make sure that that data that we're asking for, to make sure that our scholars are receiving the best possible outcomes, and that these programs are implemented with the best interests of our scholars along with their families, that including the SMART goals aspect of it, what you said, I don't think that's asking for much. And I think, quite frankly, it's something that we should have in that, so we can have data to also share with our partners on behalf of us as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Maybe my comment came across in a way that I didn't intend, which is I assumed based on the last conversation on this, those things were already happening. So that's what I was just trying to validate, that we don't need to ask for something again if it's already happening through the funder.
And I would just like to add too that, you know, while I understand that we are not the ones, you know, funding this program, it's being funded through Corewell Health. I also understand that, you know, if we go forward with this is going to be a huge undertaking for the school. There's going to be a lot of focus at Innovation Central. And so I personally want to make sure that, the money's okay, but I want to make sure that this program is impactful. If we're focusing so much time and energy into it, that we have results that we're proud of with our scholars. So it's not really as much about the money or where it's funded from, as much as it is, are we going to spend a year doing all this work, not have a huge results, and then be back at square one, you know, next year?
But
I can appreciate that, yeah.
But I do appreciate you offering to, like, perhaps, and figure out what those SMART goals are, so that way the district itself is not, we're also protected in regards to making sure that we get the results that we wanted to have that come back. I think this is good, but I think we need to make sure that we're getting that, what we're seeking.
I'm sorry, well, just because I half wrote it down because I don't have my computer today. Will you tell me the two things that you had to revisit before bringing it back to us again? I just want to make sure I had it.
Sure. The vetting characteristics that we did after the initial finance in August was that HR and legal has cleared any allegations of conflict of interest, and also that we've noted that this funding source is from Corewell, our HST partner, and it's for a continuation of services from this vendor that they had a first experience with 2013.
And so, okay, so 2013 is when it started. Is and this is gonna sound like I'm not asking in bad faith or anything, but why are we bringing it up now as opposed to, some years back from 2013? Is it we just kind of wanted to try, kind of a more intensive program with Dr. Thomas, or what was the thought process behind that?
Yep, so back in 2013, I was the assistant principal at
Yeah.
Innovation Central.
Okay.
When he came to the school. And when I came back in 2021 as head principal, one of the first meetings for Core World, they said, "Hey, you think we can get Dr. Thomas back in the school again?"
Yeah.
I said, "Probably.
Okay.
It's up to you guys." And
Okay.
that's how it's
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to our next two items under support materials is our contract with Cherry Street Health Services. A portion of it is funded through a grant through the Michigan Primary Care Association, and a portion is funded with our Section 31A state money. And these are the health centers that we have at Innovation Central, Ottawa Hills, and Union High School.
Was this the one that, I remember you talking about this, that we were gonna have this. Does this include that increase of requests of mental health services with this as well? Or is this just strictly medical attention?
I believe this is primarily medical. I'm looking at my
So no increase in mental health services?
So just to restate, the amount that we're approving tonight does include mental health services
Yeah,
through
that's-
Cherry Health? Okay, perfect. Not an increase, continuation, yep, right. And this is the first time we're seeing this blanket order request because of the timing of services or invoicing or something like that, right?
Say the Primary Care Association grant runs from October
Yes, thank you.
to September. So that's why we're bringing it forward now rather than when we did the other blankets in June.
Yep, so this is a first-time request for a blanket order, not in addition to an existing blanket order, yeah.
I think I'm confused on when we had, I think one of those work sessions I was at GRPS University, and it was brought up about additional services and partnerships with them and I believe the word was increased services around mental health because we saw that. And so I was
I'm not sure.
assuming this was part of that. Can I have some clarification?
So our mental health supports, I know I commonly say it's through our mental health clinicians we have in GRPS. Right now we have 22 of the 24 hired. We have KSSN services that provide supports at 14 schools, and then we have Cherry Health at the 3 schools. You combine those efforts, there's some supports that scholars have supports everywhere. And so that's the combination that we have with mental health supports.
Ready to, okay, all right, thank you very much.
Our next item down there, number 3, is with Life EMS. This is again a program at Innovation Central for the Health Sciences Academy. It's one that we've had for several years, many years I want to say, for the students to get training for the EMS program. The item number 4 is last year, if you the board members that were here recall we did receive an XQ extension grant. As part of that, we ran a summer institute in August of 22, and we ran another one in August of 23. So this is utilizing our XQ extension grant funds. The Grand Rapids Public Museum assisted with running that summer institute professional development. The item number 5, as part of our Title I and Title IV grants, we are required to provide services to non-public schools with Christian Schools for a number of years has requested to use FACTS Educational Solutions as a provider for educational professional development and training services for their staff and families and students. And it looks like Julie stepped out, so my clicker's not working, so let me see if I can do this way. Number 6 is the Family Literacy Program. We're planning on using ESSER 3 funding to do a program for our parenting classes, focus on English language instructions to parents and caregivers of children for 23-24. We did run this program last year, and at that point there were 174 GRPS parents with 183 GRPS scholars that were able to take advantage of this program.
Was that district-wide, or was that in like primarily one quadrant? Was it district-wide?
Thank you, Mr. Atkins.
It was a focus at 6 of our schools, and so we had UPrep, Buchanan Elementary, Sibley, Southwest Community Campus Elementary, Cesar Chavez, and Burton Elementary were the 6 schools.
And we got good positive feedback from the families involved. I mean, one thing is to serve them, but was
We did. And so talking points we have for outcomes, 92% of the GRPS parents indicated they wanted to take English classes in the family literacy program again this coming school year. 86% of the GRPS parents who were post-tested improved their literacy as indicated with the CASES test. And so it's showing that it worked.
Was that 86%?
86% improved with their English skills. And so this is a couple more. I have a few more, but there's a couple highlights.
now they're expanding is it the same schools serving again, or are we adding additional schools beyond the 6 that you listed?
Right now, it is the 6, but we definitely can have conversations around expanding if we need to.
You said UPrep, Sibley, South Buchanan.
Yep, UPrep, Buchanan, Sibley, Southwest Elementary, Cesar Chavez, and Burton Elementary are the focus schools.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you again.
The next item, number 7, is our E2020 licenses through the Ottawa Area ISD for our secondary high school students. And then moving down under building and sites, we have an indoor quality assessment district-wide using Micro Air Consulting to do indoor air quality testing at each of our buildings. There's a schedule laid out that would be starting in November through next September to make sure that we hit all of our buildings once during the year.
I want to highlight that with I was gonna say Mr. Smart. He talked about that intensely. Was that last week? Last week, and talked about that program. So about how the district is really being intentional about that air quality and doing the testing on that. So I just want to put that out there so that we're doing those measurements that the community brought forth as well.
Yes.
And Mr. Smart, maybe this is a question for you, but as we go along and start testing air quality, is that something that will be added to our Reimagine dashboard for folks to see?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It is a great opportunity for us to share with the community, with our parents, and we will be highlighting that. We will publish the timelines, the schedule, so that way parents know when their kids' school will be tested. We probably will share a little bit more information on what's involved in testing, so that way there is no fear that we're putting anyone in danger, which we're not. It's just basically it's a machine that absorbs the air, filters the air, and then we measure the particles in there. So it's really nothing that is a concern when it comes to that. But we'll put that out so that way people know.
I love it. That's amazing. Thank you.
Excellent,
Yeah,
thank you.
and I know a few parents who may be watching right now or later that are also happy about that.
And our last item under building and sites is, as we work through the preparation for the Kensington School demolition, we did ask the architect to do some additional changes to the plans and drawings to remove the parking lot and move the basketball court. So
To remove both?
to remove the parking lot, but move
Move,
Yeah.
okay.
the basketball court, so it was closer to the front, not way in the back, so. As part of that, the scope, when we first had the agreement with the architect, it was under the amount to bring forward to you, it was at the 27.5. This additional 7,000 puts it over the board approval limit.
Mrs. Martin, you don't have, you can just say yes from there. Does this include the, I remember President Williams was asking about that trail. I don't remember the trail from that sidewalk or whatever to go to that, the new area. Does this include that? That trail.
To access the basketball court, we will use the existing driveway to access the basketball court.
So no.
Correct.
Okay.
That is our last item on the purchasing agenda.
Okay, very good. I will entertain a motion to move this purchasing agenda forward to the full board.
So moved.
Can I thought, how do we say we do that last time when we pull out the one?
Is that what you'd like to do?
Yeah.
Okay, so then, so if I'm understanding correctly, you would like to modify the motion to exclude the, we're talking about the Playbook program, right? Sorry, my mind just went blank. So the item 3 under other special funds, Eric Thomas and Associates?
Yeah, so he can come back with the smart things that he was referring to.
So this will go to the board, and my understanding, I'm just going to look for you for a nod, Mr. Beresford, is you would come back with that information prior to the board meeting so that it could be voted on at the board meeting, correct? Yep, so if we don't move it forward, we can't move it forward to the board meeting, so we'd wait until the next finance committee meeting at the end of November.
And then it wouldn't go to the full board until December, which will delay the program even further, so.
We could move it to the full board, and if you don't have what you feel comfortable with that night, you could pull it.
Amend
Oh,
the
no,
agenda,
yeah,
purchasing agenda.
That's fine. That's what I was going to say I would do.
Okay,
Yep.
so are we comfortable moving forward this full agenda then to the full board? We have a motion, we just
I've
need a
made a
second.
motion, yes.
I would like to hold off on the Playbook program until we do receive that information, solely because I know that in past meetings, we have said, oh, well, this has been, unanimously approved with the Finance Committee, and I don't know if I'm quite comfortable having that said, in front, with the full board voting on this. So I personally would like to remove that from the purchasing agenda today.
You think it would, just to clarify, so you think, you're saying because of previous situations and our requests weren't honored in getting that data and it still passed through? I want to make sure I understand what you're.
No, I'm saying that, and Ms. Shockey, I know maybe you know what I'm referring to, is I just don't, I don't want there to be any confusion where we stand, because I do agree that if we all pass this moving forward to the full board, that there's unanimous consent. I would like to see the SMART goals, SMARTY goals, prior to having it move forward. And that's my personal thought on this. Of course, I also want the full board to be able to, vote on this, but as of now, I'm not in support of it until I see that. I don't know if we can move it forward with just the 3 of you, but that's what I think right now.
To your point, I think that's a good point to say that we move it forward, but it wasn't unanimous, and then there's room to discuss why it wasn't
Right.
unanimous.
Yeah.
So maintain your thing, but that way we can say we weren't unanimous in that regard.
So there's always an opportunity. So let's just, let's imagine that we move it forward, and during the board meeting, the options would be either, if you didn't receive the information you wanted or didn't agree with it, you could amend the purchasing agenda to remove this, and so that it would then be voted on independently during the board meeting, or during discussion. If I fail to mention it in my comments for the Finance Committee update, we could have that discussion before anything was voted on during the discussion period at the board meeting too. So those are the two options if you want to move it forward as a package today. Otherwise, I need a motion to amend the purchasing agenda today to remove that part. We'll still vote on that independently, but we can vote on them separately if you prefer right now. We can do it either way. So we could move it forward, and we still have an opportunity to amend the purchasing agenda at the board meeting if there's further discussion on this, or we can amend it right now and
And have
vote
them
on
stand
them,
separately?
vote on them independently at the Finance Committee.
Okay.
So one pushes one back.
Not necessarily. Majority vote. Haven't called the vote on either. So if 3 out of the 4 of us vote to move it forward,
We can still discuss that the next one and
Correct.
pull it out and have that discussion.
That's right.
Which I'll support you in that regards. Okay. Let's vote.
so those are the options. We've got a motion to move it forward to the full board. So we either need a second. If there's no second, then we can have a motion to amend the purchasing agenda.
I'll make a motion to amend the purchasing agenda, removing, I actually don't have, what is?
Item 3, under other special funds, purchase of the playbook program from Eric Thomas and Associates.
But you have a motion on the floor still, though.
We need a second, though. And we didn't.
But nobody made a second, so then I can make a motion.
But you didn't call for the second, though. I thought you didn't call for it. But I'll second it. I'm just saying, I thought you can't put another motion on the floor if there's already one on the floor. So I'm going to second it.
Move to bring the purchasing agenda in full to the full board.
That was already moved.
Mm-hmm. I'm doing it again.
Okay, I'm so sorry, everyone. All right, here we go. So we had a motion to move it forward to the full board, and then Jose made another motion because his interpretation was there was not a second to move it forward as a full package. As the chair, I can't do that, so if we don't have a second,
I second you.
okay, so we have a second. All right, so then I can't unfortunately entertain your motion, so we'll just take a vote on the full package to move it forward
Yeah.
to the full board. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Very good. Okay, motion carries. We'll bring it forward and have more discussion at the board
That's what
meeting.
I was going to say, and we'll work with Mr. Bareford and Dr. McGay to bring forward the additional information that's been requested.
Great. Apologies for the clunkiness there to my colleagues and to our audience. Thank you very much.
Oops. Sorry. Going backwards here.
Okay, donation.
We have one, and it's
Thank you, honey.
a
Please.
grant as well as a donation. So our existing secondary schools that have active Michigan Youth and Government grants have received additional grant funding this year through the YMCA. The dollar amounts that were computed use the number of scholars that are enrolled in the program at those schools. These are active programs. Our question when it came forth was, can we involve additional schools? So we will be looking at interest and needs at other schools as well for the 24-25 school year.
Okay, may I have a motion to move this donation forward to the full board?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries.
And the last item, well, not the last item totally, we have our monthly financial statements. Given our audit presentation is coming up right after this, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on our monthly financial statements. And as I don't have concerns at this point. One item you'll know, but we'll talk about it more in this upcoming meeting, is our fund balance is coming at a significantly higher rate. Part of it is June 30th is ending higher than we've ever been before. And in addition, typically, when we receive our summer property taxes for almost the entire property tax number in August, our fund balance at this time of year tends to run high anyway. So that's the monthly financial statements. I believe the next item up is a bond construction update,
We don't have to vote on the financial statements, right? Perfect.
unless there were questions.
No questions.
Hello
back.
again. So the more work we do and get completed, the shorter this report is getting. We have two very simple updates. Innovation Central, last phase is ongoing, and the anticipated date of completion remains as January 4. The exterior panel installation is about 80% complete. If you drive by, take a look. It looks amazing. We did have some delays because there were some conflicts between the panel construction design and the structural steel, so we had to make some adjustments to the structural steel so that way they would fit the proper way. So the new installation of those panels, the completion is the end of this week, is on the 27th. So we were delayed several days on that one. Moving on to the GR Montessori. We had the startup of the roof units last week, and we are anticipating the full commissioning of the system by the end of this week. And that's when we will reach the substantial completion by the 27th is what we're targeting. Anything beyond that, it will be punch list items to be 100% completed with this project. So, and if you have any questions, let me know, but that is the report I have for you.
Has that been updated on the dashboard?
No, it will be updated this week.
Great. Any questions? Other questions? Okay, wonderful. Well, that brings us to the end of our agenda for the Finance Committee meeting, so we'll adjourn this meeting. Stay tuned for the audit meeting. We'll be back here in just a few minutes at 5:30. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Mr. Smart. Mr. Smart.